Do we love with our brains or our hearts? If you guess brain, you're right. The heart has nothing to do with love, although science has noted that our hearts will beat faster and stronger when we recognize someone we love. Your heart is a servant to the brain and can only do as it's told. With that being said, your heart can't actually break, but we'll get into that later. Falling in love releases a flood of feel-good chemicals that trigger specific physical reactions, said Pat Mumbley, PhD and professor. This internal elixir of love is responsible for making our cheeks flush, our palms sweat, and our hearts race. And that's all, folks. No. What?
I was tripping. I was like, what?
You got me.
Okay. Well. I think I skipped a part, but levels of dopamine, which helps regulate movement, attention, learning, and emotional responses, adrenaline, a hormone which is involved in regulating visceral functions, and norepinephrine, I believe that's what it is, acts as a stress hormone, are all three of the chemicals released in your body when you're in love. Dopamine creates feelings of euphoria, while adrenaline and norepinephrine are responsible for the pitter-patter of the heart and overall preoccupation that might happen. Now that you've learned what happens in your brain, let's talk about what happens in your heart. Loving someone feels really good, but when things head south, people can experience extreme depression, loss of appetite, insomnia, increased stress, issues focusing, and the list goes on. The symptoms are similar to someone going through withdrawal. A broken-hearted person is too. In rare cases, some people may actually die from a broken heart. There is a specific term for this, Takotsubo. Stress cardiomyopathy. Murdered that, but it's okay. It's a newly recognized disease that causes the left ventricle of the heart to weaken because of stress. Okay, and a little bit more on that. I didn't add it in here because it was a little bit too much, but I'll just talk about it. They did a study on older widowed men who had gone through this, and they had shown if, like, over a 7-year period of time, the men that were widowed, their heart was so weakened from having to go on without their significant other that they had died earlier, but they're still studying it more, so I didn't add it in here, but I did just want to mention it. Okay. If you visit a site called healthline.com, it will list a series of mental health disorders that are more common and give links to further investigate how each disorder affects individuals. Some common ones would be bipolar disorder, persistent depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. Bipolar disorder can affect a person's ability to think reasonably and cause them to lash out at everyone, including their significant other. And they can't help it, they just do it. And some people feel bad afterwards, some people don't. They just don't care. So, persistent depressive disorder is a chronic type of depression. Although it isn't as intense, there are reports of people leaving seemingly stable relationships due to feelings of not being enough. And that's a feeling that they never get over, to the fact that they don't even want to be in the relationship anymore because they feel like they're unfulfilled in it, they're never going to be enough with it. So love for them is really, really, really hard. Generalized anxiety disorder is beyond regular anxiety, as people who suffer from this feel extremely anxious about everything to the point some can't control having a relationship at all. They just simply cannot handle the stress of having the relationship, and I think that's sad. In conclusion, we've learned about how love affects our brains and our hearts, what chemicals are released, that people can die from a broken heart, and so much more. I hope you all learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And then these are my sources.